IVM.
Hello and welcome to episode number 9 of The Fighting Goats. Where my partner Arjun Mystic Chipalkatti and me Somesh Superhuman Kamra will break down UFC 261. We'll speak about an exciting guest and the fight night coming up. A lot more only on episode number 9 of The Fighting
Goat. Oh
Chips.
man, I love it every time we hear that. Episode 9.
Oh, man, that's crazy. Good morning, Chips. It's such a wonderful day today. You know,
Such a wonderful day with 35 degrees and feels like 43 degrees. So
and lockdown.
I don't even know why.
Well, I just look at the positives of life, and that's how I move
Absolutely.
on.
The only thing that's truly wonderful about this is that the fact that we get to do what we love. We get to talk about the wonderful sport of mixed martial arts, boxing,
That's
fighting, jhagda, galdi, lagori fights, everything. And the fact that we get to do it on one of the biggest podcasting platforms in India, only on ivmpodcast.com, is what actually makes me happy.
Exactly. This is precisely why both of us are always so up and cheerful and excited to bring to you these episodes. Chips, the week that was, tell me more. UFC 261, what didn't go your way? I mean,
God. You know what? By the way, funnily enough, we have gone square again. So we have drawn. We have drawn today. Because all our picks, we have drawn. So we are, nobody won, nobody lost. That means Cyrus gets to hit us again. But
you know what? I think we just need to stop this here. We just need to stop this right now. It's not working anymore for me.
It's not working. It's really not working for you.
See, you know what? I'm below the age of 45. Post May 1st, I need to get my vaccine. I need my arms intact.
Correct. we do it on the other side now. Other side.
Listen, Cyrus has to hit us at least 45 times. So, I think both our arms, kidneys, liver, everything is in danger.
We'll run now. What is that? We'll run. No, but coming back to the amazing week that was I can't even begin. Firstly, it was the shortest fight card in the history of the UFC. It ran 19 minutes and some odd seconds of actual fight time.
Seconds, yeah.
It was the only card in history which had all finishes via TKO or KO. That's technical knockout or knockout. And it was just incredible from the get-go. 15,000 screaming fans. Everybody had a smile on their face. And it was one of those old cards, where nobody cared who won, who lost. The politics of the sport weren't there. None of that bullshit existed. Everybody was just happy and grateful. The things, Somesh, we talk about the things that we take for granted in this sport.
Right.
The things that we take for granted everywhere. And it's just such an amazing thing. I think people were just happy to see each other. There were no drunken fights, nothing.
You know what? In fact, it was so surprising because DC just said it is so happy to sit next to a commentator and tap their shoulder when there's a good knockout or a good finish.
Oh man, yeah.
I feel these are the small pleasures of life that people have possibly taken for granted. And hence, this is the situation that we were put onto. But I feel the people who need to take advantage of this and who need to enjoy it, people like Chips, me, and all of us here at IVM, I think we are enjoying every single minute of it. So, Chips, moving on, as you rightly said, it was 19 minutes, 36 seconds. The second shortest fight card was UFC 92, Rashad Evans versus Forrest Griffin, which was about 30 odd minutes. Even that one had all TKO and KOs. I mean,
wow, really?
Man, it's almost been about 12 years since I've seen all TKO KOs, and what a card. There was not one fight that we did not enjoy. The entire card ended in, I think, 2 odd hours. It started off in the light heavyweight division with Anthony Smith and the Australian Jimmy Croot.
Oh man, yeah. In this fight though, you know what? Somesh had picked Anthony Smith, the Lionheart, who's making his comeback. He had a bit of a rough road, but he took his time, put in the work, and looked so good out there. Jimmy Croot is this banger from Australia who doesn't give a crap. He doesn't give a shit. He's going to come there and try to take your head off. One of the most exciting fighters. He's one of those old school guys who don't care about the broken hands and the broken feet.
Well, but he's 25.
and he's only 25.
He's 25, yeah.
He's only 25. He's got such a long career ahead of him. And so is Anthony Smith, for that matter. He's 32 years old only. And now I think he's beginning to come into his prime.
Absolutely.
It's funny that 3 years ago or 4 years ago, he faced off against John Jones at that time. And, he was completely outclassed by John Jones. And then he went into a little bit of a skid. He got beat up by Glover Teixeira. But the way he's come back, the resurgence with which he's come back with, the confidence that he's brought back in was just something to behold. And he showed it, man, with that technique, those strikes, and that leg kick which ended it all.
Man, it's crazy. In fact, the leg kick that was thrown by Anthony Smith landed on a nerve that is called the peroneal nerve. And if that nerve gets damaged or if it gets hit very hard, the leg just kind of dangles, it gives away. You cannot put absolutely no weight on that leg anymore. And, we saw this when Henry Cejudo had got leg kicked. And the same thing happened to him, but he somehow...
Even Sugar Sean O'Malley. Sugar Sean O'Malley crumbled. Yeah. But by the way, for guys who don't know, this is slightly technical, but for guys who don't know what that feels like, it's like, when you take your coney, your elbow, and you smack it somewhere very hard, you see how your hand becomes for 10 seconds. You can't close your fist. It becomes
numb, yes.
You can't close your fist. You can't move your fingers. You can't do anything. Now, imagine that with your leg. And that too in the middle of a fight. But Jimmy Croot still had the wherewithal to take his opponent down. He still, on one leg, pushed off, pivoted, and managed to, kind of keep it under control. But I think, it was such, the thing is that, like Somesh described, when it just goes numb, you don't know how long it's going to take to come back.
Right.
And we saw that even after the 1 minute break and the icing and everything in the corner.
Yeah.
When he got up, Jimmy Croot was banging his chest saying, let's go, I want to do this.
Yeah.
But his leg didn't cooperate, sadly.
But, what happens is that once you're in an arena with 15,000 screaming fans, and Bruce Buffer says that this is the main card.
Oh,
and it's the first fight of the main card. Sometimes with all that adro inside you, the pain just goes away and you want to go there and bang. It may hurt crazily the next day, but honestly at that point of time you don't care about it, you just want to go at it. But honestly I felt it's a very good stoppage by the doctor.
It was a great stoppage, man.
Jimmy Croot would have just kind of damaged himself
he was
way more than needed.
No, he was not able to walk. It was just it was a straight call. The official just saw it and he said, that's it. And that was not the only fight which ended sadly via a injured leg. We move on to the next fight, which took place in the middleweight division between Uriah Hall and the All-American Chris Weidman. Now, Chris Weidman is a veteran in this sport. He, even though it hurts my heart to say this because he dethroned one of the greatest fighters in the world, and his name was Anderson Silva. And in their second fight, it was such a freaky injury that happened to the Spider. Now, before we go quickly to what happened to Weidman, is Anderson Silva threw a leg kick at Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman checked it and hit a point which was right on the cup of the knee. And it was one of the hardest parts. And the part of the shin that connected to the knee was one of the softest parts. And it caused a snap. And we saw the same horrific thing take place in the first strike thrown in that fight, Somesh.
Man, it was crazy because it ended in 17 seconds of the first round. It's a very weird record to have, Chips. Uriah Hall has won a fight with not even one strike thrown.
Dana White has no chill because he put it on immediately saying that the first UFC fighter to win without a strike thrown. I was like, wow, man, that's a little mean, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. And if the viewers kind of roll back the tape and they see how Chris Weidman swung his leg, there was all the power, there was all the effort, his hip was into it, and it just snapped. And the worst part is he didn't realize it then. When he got his leg back and he tried to put weight on it, it went the other way and he collapsed. It was devastating to see the former middleweight champion suffer that. Chips, he's 36 years old. You think he will psychologically recover and come back from that injury, or is it the end of the road for the All-American Chris Weidman?
My heart says that Chris Weidman, despite what anybody says, wrestlers like Chris Weidman are very, very mentally tough. And when they're determined to do something, they will put their minds to it. The Spider came back in less than a year from that horrible injury, but he was never the same ever again, because psychologically it weighs on you in a very different way that
Very true.
nobody can imagine. And to see that happen at the age of 37, you're not exactly young, but you're not exactly old, because it's that weird age. But then it all depends on his personal recovery, because it's Silva did it because he was dying to come in.
Right.
He was dying to come in. He was dying to get there. And I don't know why. I don't know. It's too early to tell. We haven't heard from him. I hope, his surgery goes well, because, ladies and gentlemen, this is, there might be people who like him, dislike him, but nobody wishes injury upon anybody ever.
And not like this one.
Never. No injury. I mean, look, if you were Nogueira and Frank Mir rolling on a mat, and Frank Mir in the heat of the moment snaps your arm, that's a different thing. You got submitted. Your arm broke because of it was technique. It was the way it happened. But this is a freak incident. Yes, it was a checked kick. But it's still, what are the chances of it happening? 1 in a million.
Man. And unfortunately, this Sunday, it was 1 in those million chances that Chris Weidman,
it's horrible.
The soft part of the shin versus the hard part of the shin. And man, we wish Chris Weidman a very speedy recovery.
Absolutely. He's going to come back. This is not the last we've seen of the All-American. And he's going to get not just an All-American, but a global welcome back.
Very true. Very true.
To the cage.
And now, since markets are opening up, and people are attending the UFC events, I think the next time he's in there, it's going to be a round of applause for the All-American Chris Weidman.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the first title fight of the night.
Yes!
The women's flyweight division, the Bullet Valentina Shevchenko versus the Mike Tyson of the female division, Jessica Andraj.
Oh man! I mean, there are a few moments in the history of fighting where we describe as pure poetry in motion, where you see everything superfluously come together. They come together in such a manner that it's hard to describe into words, because I have never seen anybody, like we've been watching fights for 15 years now, and sorry, let's call it almost 20 years now, and never have I ever seen. I can go as far as saying that counting both the men and the women's divisions in the UFC today, she is still the most outstanding, devastating, most perfectly balanced fighter that I've ever seen ever.
But, Chips, the thing is that Jessica Andraj was touted to be, someone who has fought in the bantamweight division, which is 135 pounds. She went all the way down to 115 pounds in the strawweight division. She also held the belt at the strawweight division. But somehow, they positioned her, the UFC marketing team positioned her as this one that would dethrone the queen. But what we saw in the octagon, when everybody in the world said that, Valentina's striking is absolutely top-notch, her wrestling is dingly-dangly, and what did she do to someone who slammed Rose on her head? She absolutely outclassed her in every single department of the game.
It's not just outclassing, it's just the way she did it. I mean, we spoke about this on the Ultimate Guide to the UFC, and we talked about how when Andraj tried to, there's a technique. So when Andraj was looking,
good cross promotion,
to get looking to get underhooks, which was to look to take Valentina down. And it's just Andraj is a very, very strong person. She's got the ability to slam most men over their heads, let alone women. And the way Valentina just, it's a combination of pure strength and technique. Right. She just couldn't move her. It was like it was trying to move a 250 kilo cinder block. And she defended it so perfectly, turned it around, and literally broke her spirit, I think, at that point.
Well, this fight ended in round 2 in 3 minutes and 19 seconds. But
how good was that mounted crucifix, though? I mean, for someone as strong as Andraj, she couldn't get out from underneath it.
In fact, in the fight, Andraj technically, physically, looked much stronger. But the moment Andraj went for this, she went for the takedown and she tried thrice to pick up Valentina and she couldn't succeed. I felt that's when her spirit broke and the end was near.
No, man, it's also Valentina's control. It's, it's not just strength, it's countering technique. And it's every time when Andraj would look to switch to a single or a double leg, she would always have an underhook going over and always an overhook and look to turn it.
Yeah.
She would always have that technique on point. So she never, it's this is why I say she didn't look like she was in trouble for even 1/100th of a second. Not
Absolutely.
even a little bit. The kind of prowess that she showed. She you remember that point in the first round? She had her stunned with her striking, with her 1-2 combination. She was a little wobbly. And I think she mixed up like what seemed like at least 10 takedowns across 2 rounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she had 6 takedowns. But man, 6 takedowns versus somebody whose grappling game is not considered the best. And she's taking down somebody who has KO'd slammed fighters in the past.
And,
I mean, man,
dude, Rose Namajunas is a former strawweight champion. And Jessica Andraj knocked her out. And in the second fight, was also beating her up on her feet. But she's got huge power, huge punches, and to see somebody outclassed like that was, Andraj herself, when the fight was over, the fans were joking that, she seemed happy that it's over. I said, who wouldn't be?
Well, because anybody would
when you know that you're not, it's like tomorrow, it's like me batting and, taking on a prime Muthaiya Muralitharan or Shane Warne. I'll be happy the over's over. Like, damn. The pressure.
Well,
or if I get out, I'll be like, khatam, chalo.
Well, absolutely. In fact, I find this fighter so phenomenal because she is someone who sticks with or has stuck with one coach, Pavel Fedotov, and her sister. They don't have one camp that they stick with. They keep traveling around the world, learning different arts, learning different cultures. And it just shows me that this particular fighter is so high on the fight IQ aspect that honestly, she just needs to be with that small knit group or the small knit family of hers. And I think she's going to be unbeatable in the flyweight division. But Chips, do you think she should move up and have another crack at Amanda Nunes? Because I don't see what's left for Valentina Shevchenko in this division or the one lower than hers.
I don't know. There's a reason why we're not matchmakers, and I like it that way, to be honest. But yeah, moving up to beat Amanda, I don't know. Look, I think
the second fight was very close. Come on, the second fight was extremely close.
The second fight was so ridiculously close. I don't blame anybody for thinking if Valentina had won that. I don't blame anybody.
Correct.
But the thing is that I think Amanda and Valentina took on each other at a time where Amanda was better in her skill set. She was the most superior fighter at that time. Now, a lot of people think that Valentina has surpassed Amanda in terms of skills because the one hole that she had, the one weakness that she may have had was in her grappling and her wrestling and has become one of her strongest tools now. The way she chains her striking and her wrestling together makes me believe that she might not just give the champ a hard time, she might beat her convincingly.
Wow, that's a bold prediction. I think that's going to be a beautiful encounter.
I just hope it happens. I really do hope it happens. But
I somehow feel that's the only fight to make for either of them.
But the next fight that we're going to talk about was our contenders who are very familiar with one another across all these. That's the beauty of the women's divisions. Everything is so close by. It's a matter of maybe 2-3 kilos here and there, and you can move up to fight somebody else.
Absolutely.
And we saw the champ. Zhang Weili from China taking on Rose Namajunas, who honestly, Somesh, I understand why Joe Rogan cried. I understand why. Why anybody would cry.
This was a second title fight in the women's strawweight division, which is the 115 pounds, where the first Chinese champion Weili Zhang took on the former champion Rose Namajunas.
It was an incredible fight. It was quick, it's our round 2. Guys, stay tuned for round 2 because we're going to be talking about a lot more in detail about coaching and training camps and stuff. So you'll understand a lot more about what we're saying in round 2. But we've come to a point where, camps are such a significant part of a fighter's life. And we saw that with Rose Namajunas. That combination of Henry Hooft and Trevor Whitman made the ultimate game plan. The way she knew how to move perfectly, the way she threw those combinations, that head kick that she landed went underneath Zhang Weili's guard. When Weili thought it was coming to the other parts, sometimes fighters, when if you received a couple of leg kicks or low kicks or body kicks, you kind of expect the same thing. But it's the way she threw that kick was unique. It was not the hardest kick in the world. It was just a
snap.
It was a snap, and Weili was caught out of position. She was caught. Her feet were in the wrong place. She did not expect it. She didn't see it coming. It's similar to what happened with when Anderson Silva knocked out Vitor Belfort. Belfort expected it to go to the body. Only thing is Silva's kick was 100% accurate and 100% full power. Also.
Right.
And it's just a similar situation, but it's just it just happened so suddenly, and we crowned a new champion now.
Man, that's crazy. The fight ended as a knockout in the first round in 1 minute and 18 seconds. Chips, does it also happen that the fighter has not really warmed up, and even if the kick is not 100%, it could still knock you out. Something what happened, maybe with Aldo versus Conor McGregor, which kind of ended in under 15 seconds. It was just that short left that connected that ended Aldo's 10-year reign. And in fact, this kick of Rose Namajunas ended a 21-fight win streak for the former champion Weili Zhang.
That's a really good point, Somesh. It's true. If fighters take a lot of time to warm up, they get ready, they hit a couple of shots, because that first shot, if you're not ready for it and you're not warmed up for it, can just put you out. And we have seen Zhang Weili in wars, man. In wars. We saw against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she took so many shots, harder shots, I would say, and stood in the pocket and traded. And it's just, maybe it's a combination of that. Maybe it's a combination of being out of place, or her footwork gone wrong. Maybe she expected a different strike. It happens. Even the greatest in the world at some point have to fall. But
she did protest. She did protest after kind of getting back to her feet. She was still very wobbly. No nonsense. Keith Peterson was holding her very close because she was absolutely disbalanced, and she was so angry at the fact that she lost. But after seeing the replay, she understood why Keith Peterson stopped it, because honestly, the snapping leg kick may have dropped her, but it was those hammer fists that put her absolutely out cold.
That's true. It's those hammer fists to the side of the head that sealed the show. And a lot of fighters sometimes, it's, she's come back after a long time. She's the champ. It's ego. It's pride. There's so much on the line. And, a lot of fighters have protested it, especially guys like, Dominic Cruz has protested it against Keith Peterson for stopping his fight against Henry Cejudo early. And it's, that is another topic that we've talked about in the past, and I'm pretty sure we'll talk about again, are sometimes referees sometimes the veteran referees in championship fights tend to let things go on a little longer because, there's a belt on the line.
Yeah.
But nowadays the referees are so on point, and they look at the eyes of the fighter, they look at the body language. And I think, Zhang Weili, she's doing her best to try to protest the stoppage. But I think she was out, man. Maybe she's also upset that the Chinese went 0-4 yesterday. Even in the prelims, they lost. All the Chinese lost on that card.
Right.
Maybe she's upset about that.
And this, my dear friend, gets us to the main event of the evening, the grudge match between the welterweight champion Kamaru Usman and his counterpart, the gritty Straight Jesus, Jorge Masvidal, in the welterweight division, which is 170 pounds. The last time they met, Jorge Masvidal stepped in on a 6-day notice, flew all the way to Abu Dhabi, cut 20 pounds, and he lasted 5 rounds. But this time around, it was a completely different ball game.
It was, it was just something that you see. Kamaru Usman is one of those evolving fighters who is now matching that skill set every time he goes forward. When somebody tells him, you don't have power in the striking, he goes and works on it. You don't have submission skills, he goes works on it. And
Yeah.
you can just see the evolution of Kamaru Usman because they fought, I think, it must have been at least 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 to 8 months ago. And he fought he fought Gilbert Burns in the middle as well.
Yeah.
And you could just see that evolution, the evolution of Kamaru Usman striking. Because even though he had his moments of looking a little wild in there, it's a combination of his hard work, his focus, his determination, and that power shot in that right hand
Oh man.
go guys. We can put up a picture of this. It'll be amazing. But that shot, that power shot of that right hand, the way it shook Masvidal's body, Masvidal was out cold limp on the way down. Like the way he curved that right hand, Masvidal's head was resting on Kamaru's body and going downwards unconscious.
Well,
He was
well,
out
Masvidal,
cold.
well, Masvidal, 50 professional fights, and the first time he's got knocked out. Someone who's started his career with street fighting, and he got knocked out the first time with somebody who he said doesn't have power in his hands.
I think, but classy man that Masvidal is, after the fight said that he was cocky. He said he was cocky. He said he was arrogant. He said he took it lightly. He said that he didn't feel the power, so he kept his hands down. And, it's sometimes it is a bitter pill to swallow because there is no better lesson than this. Masvidal he is so tough. He's such a durable guy. And I think he will come back better because now he will know not to sleep on that power. But in terms of Kamaru Usman and Masvidal, I think that chapter can be closed.
It's over.
He's lost twice now. Yeah. It's done. I mean, there is nothing. There's no way. Unless there's a super fight in the future where Kamaru is in another division and Masvidal is the welterweight champion or whatever. It's maybe under those circumstances somewhere.
Unless Usman wants to come for the BMF belt.
Unless he wants to come for the BMF belt. But I think Conor McGregor might have his eyes on it.
Man, so that fight ended in round 2, 1 minute 2 seconds, and Kamaru Usman still remains the undefeated welterweight champion. He's on a 14-fight win streak in the UFC, 18 fights overall. Man, this guy is looking unstoppable out there.
He is. He's looking unstoppable. And the thing is that now I think out of all the contenders, after looking at this fight, a lot of people will want to fight him. And guys like Colby Covington are already, getting ready because Colby and Usman went the distance. Well, Usman finished him in the 5th round by a straight right punch. He broke his jaw and that was a TKO. But I think out of all of Usman's fights, I think Colby Covington gave him the toughest fight because they're both wrestlers. And when they're both great wrestlers, the wrestling cancels each other out.
Right.
The only difference is that Kamaru's striking has grown. His finishing power has become incredible.
Right.
But on the same hand, Colby Covington has been training with a new camp, so you never know what changes he's made. But I think that's a rematch that we will all want to see in the future. And I think, Somesh, that concludes the wonderful, wonderful week of MMA that was. It was an incredible, incredible week. We had amazing finishes. Guys, go check out UFC 261. See the replay on Sony and come and tell us what you think of it. But stay tuned as we go into round 2 with much more intricate details of the sport. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, thewholetruthfoods.com, Seat, PayPal, and Cred. We thank you all for your support. Tune into The Note, where Maruk Inayat talks to Dr. Bipin Joshi about the second wave of COVID. He calls it no less than World War III. On The Habit Coach, Ashton was joined by Yoshita Dave, who's a sex educator and intimacy coach. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam Gupta was joined by Amit Thakkar and Hiral Jain of Market Pulse Technologies, and they talked about trading in Indian markets. All Things Policy by the Takshashila Institute had on board Mihir Mahajan and Pranay Kotastane to talk about the recent changes in the Indian intellectual property front. You should definitely check out the Cyrus Says episode with Ace casting director Mukesh Chabra. They discussed some of his best work. We also had Ira Mukoti, who has authored various books on history and mythology from a female gaze. The IPL season's in full swing, and we have Edges and Sledges in English and Khel Niti in Hindi if you want to check out cricket content. Really, really great conversations on both of those shows. Do check those out. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Welcome to round 2 of the Fighting Goat, where Mystic Chips and me, Somesh Superhuman Kamra, will break down some important aspects of coaching, mindset, psychological advantages, and a lot more. So let's speak.
Absolutely. Coaching has been such a significant part of anything, whether you play cricket, whether you play football, whether you do boxing, MMA, gully, whatever. Coaching has made the difference between great contenders and champions. Coaching has made the difference between a piece of coal that can turn into a diamond. And some of the coaches in MMA have proven just that. And if you look at it, Somesh, we saw so much of that on display in this recent generation. I won't say the last month or so, in the recent generation.
Right. So, in fact, Chips, most of the viewers here know that we in fact started watching the sport back in the blood sport days, 2001, 2002.
How good was that movie as well, huh?
Blood sport.
I love Van Damme, dude. Van Damme was awesome.
So, we started watching this sport in the good old Pride days, when foot storms were allowed. There was so much of aggression,
you're making
violence,
me nostalgic, my friend.
and all of that. But, if you look at the amount of times the belt used to change, it probably was every title fight had a belt change.
Yeah.
Way back in the day. But right now people are keeping the belts for 6 fights, 7 fights, sometimes 8 fights. If you're obviously, if you're the greatest of all time, Anderson Silva, it's much longer than that. But this all comes down to good psychological coaching. See, there's no it's not rocket science, to be honest. Someone like a Greg Chappell cannot teach Sachin Tendulkar as to how to bat. But can he train his mind on how to deal with situations and overcome certain situations? Why not? And that is exactly what's happening. Look what Henry Hooft and Trevor Whitman have done with their absolute diamond fighters like Rose Namajunas, like Kamaru Usman.
It's pretty incredible how they've managed to, they were already talented. They were already good. They were already.
Yeah.
It's you talk about Trevor Whitman and Henry Hoof. You talk about guys like Greg Jackson. Somesh, before we even go into the recent picture, let's look at when the entire thing of these camps began, the rivalries began, where you had Nova União, which was Jose Aldo's camp, Henan Barao's camp, that took on Black House, which had Junior Dos Santos, Lyoto Machida, Anderson Silva, Wanderlei Silva, Shogun Hua. I mean, that camp was one of the best camps in the world. Black House literally controlled the UFC at one time. Then there was the era of
Black
Jackson
Zillions.
Wink, the Black Zillions versus the Jackson Wink camp.
Yeah,
and there were the rivalries that took place between these coaches, where you have guys like Luis Doria and versus Greg Jackson and Phil Nurse. Versus so many, the names don't come to mind right now. It's
American
crazy.
top team, Uriah Faber's, Team Alpha Male.
Oh man, Team Alpha Male. The Team Alpha Male guys versus guys from Jason Perillo's camp that trained guys like BJ Penn. And then of course the Diaz brothers with Cesar Gracie. And it's amazing.
Henry Perez for these guys, yeah.
And Henry Perez is their boxing coach.
Yeah.
So Somesh, we just wanted to talk. You're a coach as well, and Indian MMA is still growing. It's still nascent.
Yeah.
It's not reached that stage where there are so many camps and so many coaches. But you've seen the sport. We both seen the sport grow.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that has changed in the coaching that you would say that stands out significantly from, say, pre-2010 to post-2010?
So that's a very good point, because when I started in this sport and when I started really learning and coaching, the coach used to primarily focus on his or her fighter. So it's like Greg Jackson focusing on John Jones. Of late, maybe 2013-14 time, there was a lot of analysis on the opponent as to what they do, what they do not do, what they like, what they don't like. Honestly, coaching right now is such a taxing and a difficult job, because now it's even come down to marketing. What you have to show on social media versus what you have to do in the fight.
Very true.
It has actually come down to that. In fact, you have to keep a very, very close eye on your opponent, because say, for example, some opponent is injured, or they have a knee pain, or they have, some issues with the ankle. And that is where you have to target. So it comes down to studying your opponent as if that fighter is your fighter, and you have to take advantage of that. So it's like what's happening in his mind will be countered by us. They will also think that way. So you have to find a recounter to what they would think about your fighter.
True. No, and guys like Frank Mir took such advantage of that, because I remember he purposely used to tape up his ankles and his knees to make fighters think that, he might be injured. And even the commentators would, look on and say, oh, is that an underlying injury?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't know about it.
Yeah.
But the crafty used it to get traction when he was on the ground with his fighters. And that's what that's what veteran coaches give you.
Yeah.
They give you veteran analysis and minor advantages, small advantages that you'll see that these guys use in their fights.
Absolutely.
And the old guard was so good at doing that.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm saying the coaching has changed completely now.
Right.
I think it's become far more refined. As Somesh said, it involves marketing, it involves PR, it involves everything. It's become, it's like Kamaru Usman is a wrestler, and nobody knew that he developed such incredible striking power.
Absolutely.
Overnight.
In fact, we saw that when when Khabib stunned Conor with that overhand right.
Exactly.
Nobody even expected that
overhand right. Nobody ever saw it coming. Yeah, because Conor's been preparing for that all inevitable takedown.
Absolutely.
He's been ready for that. He's been training for that. And that overhand right came and just shocked him. He's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Ye kahan se hai?
Another very important aspect of coaching is nutrition and what weight class you fight in. Because way back in the day, if you see someone like an Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Oh man, you took the words out of my mouth.
Who at one point of time competed in the welterweight division, which is 170 pounds. That gentleman I find it difficult how he even goes below 205.
Dude, it's unreal. The guy used to cut from 230 pounds. Guys, by the way, just do this as an exercise. Okay, type Anthony Johnson 170 and then type Anthony Johnson now. Okay, just do that. Just do that now, just for our sake, just do that. Because I think right now his head itself weighs 170 and the rest of the body is another 200 pounds. He is a legitimate heavyweight. He's 6'3", massive. When he fought at 170, I think, but Somesh, that was also during the days when the UFC allowed, rehydration via an IV.
IV and stuff.
You could like rehydrate at a much faster level.
But, now, the old school way of doing things, again, like someone like a Johnny Hendricks who fought at welterweight, but in 24 hours, he was like 28 pounds heavier. But, but what normally happens is that this, in fact, shortens your career. And a good coach would never want that. He always wants a longer career. He always wants a healthier career, because that also means you have lesser injuries. And that is exactly what a good coach does. But Jessica Andraj could not cut to 115 pounds. Her body was not allowing it. And nobody in the world becomes younger. They all age. And with age, there are a lot of complications that actually crop up.
It's true. That's what Cyborg Santos said. That when she couldn't cut to 135, she said, I have to fight at 145. I can't go underneath 145 because I physically can't go. And that's when Amanda Nunes went up. And even Amanda Nunes, I think, the older she's getting, she's still in shape and everything. You might look the same in shape, but you're not cutting that kind of weight anymore.
Right.
You're just not able to cut that because the amount of pressure it puts on your kidneys, the amount of stress it puts on your body is incredible. And I think the IV ban that the UFC put into place a couple of years ago has done wonders, because now fighters are fighting much closer to their original natural weight. And in the past, if you look at guys like Nate Diaz, they never cut a lot of weight. They always stayed at fighting weight. That's why their cardiovascular, their endurance has been so phenomenal. And even guys like when guys like BJ Penn fought, maybe he cut 3 pounds or 4 pounds.
Right.
That's it to get to 155 pounds.
Someone like GSP.
GSP on Fight Night was 185.
Yeah.
GSP on Fight Night, GSP cut, but GSP was very smart about cutting the weight.
Yeah.
And in Anderson Silva as well, he used to walk around. His walk-around weight was around 205, 210, but he cut to 185, but he cut in a very systematic manner. And I think, Somesh, don't you agree that a good camp also gives you the tools to be able to do that with control of your nutrition.
Well, absolutely.
With control of the timing for it. Everything.
Now this all is new age technique. It is science. Way back 2001, it was more of passion. It was more of hobby. You sit in the sauna for like 3 hours and you kind of get the water off. But honestly, the new age techniques are way better. They're healthier. The fighters don't get injured. They have longer careers, which means the coaches are happy, the fighters are happy, and everybody makes more money.
I think the time when I started trying to cut, I tried to cut weight once, just for vanity and health reasons. I did it. I put an exercycle in the sauna. We were part of a hotel. I was with the fighters.
Oh, really?
I put an exercycle in the sauna and I did the stupidest thing, because a lot of times, and I've noticed this, that fighters in, Josh mein, when they want to prove a point and they want to come down, they do stupid things like I did. And I was so horribly dehydrated. I needed 2 guys to carry me out.
Oh man, that sucks.
I had 2 guys carry me out, put me down and put glucose in my mouth. And I remember somebody took me up to the room. They put an IV into me which just had glucose in it.
Yeah.
Because I had lost so many salts because of the stupidity that I did. I tried to cut about 3 kilos in 2 hours.
And then after that you went to Chamber Gym, no?
And then I went to Chamber Gym.
But speaking of the IV ban, in fact, ONE FC has done a very, very good thing where the fighter cannot cut more than 8% of their body weight. Which in fact, if you look at it from the fighter's perspective, I think it's a very, very positive move, because they do not cut that much weight now.
That's very interesting. Sometime back, I remember long back, guys like the old school guys like Bas Rutten used to say, why don't you do, in the Pancrase days, he used to say, why don't you do same day weigh-ins?
That in fact makes the most sense to me.
Correct, because let's just say you cut your weight. You're going to fight at 9 o'clock at night. Your main card starts at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So you do your weigh-ins at 7:30 in the morning. You do the weigh-ins at 7:30 in the morning. Do the ceremonial later in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then you do cut the weight the same day, because then your rehydration, you don't get 24 hours to rehydrate.
Right.
You have to rehydrate within that X amount of time.
Logically, that makes the most sense to me. I don't know why most organizations don't do that. Maybe it is because most main cards start at about between 6:30 and 7:30 in the evening. However, the pre-prelims start by about 2:30 in the afternoon. So honestly, they don't know the sleeping pattern of the fighters, and it just makes more sense to give them some time. Those extra 24 hours. I think it just kind of has a little bit of leeway. But again, the fighters and their coaches have taken advantage of that at some point of time to kind of get back 25 pounds, sometimes 30 pounds.
I mean, the guys especially guys in the light heavyweight division, like guys like Anthony Smith. Yesterday, I mean, we saw Anthony Smith in his last fight, and you saw him, man. He may have cut down to 205 pounds, but he looked 230 that night.
He was huge
on fight night.
Yeah,
he was huge. He was huge. He was looking thick. He was looking huge. He was looking in shape.
Yeah.
But I guess that's modern MMA, and I guess that's what great coaching, great camps. They know how to use the system very, very well. They know how to work and play with the rules of the system in a legal manner, of course.
Right.
And they know how to work that system. So maybe in the future, Somesh, one day we will see what we ask for in terms of the same day weigh-ins.
Yeah,
but I think
it'll be awesome.
I think it'll be awesome. But I think for now, we can conclude to the fact that current coaching still is, if you compare it to the yesteryear, has jumped leaps and bounds.
Well, absolutely yes. I think it has a long way to go, and this is just the start. The good part about competitive coaching is that the athletes benefit and the competition level just rises. So honestly, I think the best is yet to come, and man, I cannot wait for this sport to grow.
It is going to grow leaps and bounds. And that being said, moving leaps and bounds, stay tuned, guys, as we conclude round number 2 of episode 9 of The Fighting GOAT. But don't go anywhere. We are going into round number 3 for the all-important, all-amazing MMA face-off between Team Chips and Team Kamra. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Fighting GOAT. This is round number 3 where Team Chips goes versus Team Kamra in the famous face-off. Let's have it,
Yes!
Chips. The next, okay, you know what? I'm going to be.
By the way, guys, just FYI, Team Chips.
No,
is
nobody wants to know. Nobody wants to know.
4-0.
Nobody's interested in that. This is a ritual. This is a ritual on the Fighting GOAT where the face-offs happen. Team Chips versus Team Kamra. The next event is Dominic Reyes versus Prochazka. In the main event, it's in the light heavyweight division. But the co-main event is Cub Swanson versus Chipalkatti in the featherweight division. We also have another great fight in the light heavyweight division where Couture Laba takes on Dustin Jacoby. So we're going to be taking these 3 fights. Team Chips, let us start in the light heavyweight division. Couture Laba versus Dustin Jacoby.
Oh man, this is going to be a hard one. Dustin Jacoby is equally tough. But, the thing is that I got to go with Couture Laba. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's a maniac. You know what? He doesn't give a shit. He comes to fight. He comes to stand in your face and fight.
You know what? That is such a good pick because I'm going to be going with Team Chips on this one. Team Chips, Team Kamra, both are going for Couture Laba in the light heavyweight division. Guys,
Yes,
please make your picks, tag us, hashtag us, and get a chance to win some exciting prizes.
Yeah, seriously, if you guys don't tag us, then don't complain why you're not getting the stuff.
Yes.
Don't somebody DM'd me, oh, I didn't get my this. And I'm like, kuch karo, tag karo, write to us, then you'll get
Do some work. Come on.
Do some work. Free hai kya? Phukad mein nahi milta hai sab kuch.
And let's move on in the featherweight division. Co-main event of the evening. The veteran Cub Swanson taking on Giga Chipalkatti.
I gotta go with Giga. Giga is a dangerous young fighter. Cub Swanson, you know what? You have to watch WEC to know who Cub Swanson is.
Man,
you have to see him. He's a veteran. Oh, he is an old school veteran. He's tough as nails. You can never count him out of the fight. And I probably might lose him, so you never know.
Yeah.
But
man, good pick. Good pick.
I think I'm going with Giga.
Giga 12-2. Cub Swanson 27-11. Man, it's very, very difficult. But I think I'm going to be going for the Jackson Wink veteran, Cub Swanson.
We did the same thing the last time where you chose against Andrei Arlovsky, and I told you Andrei Arlovsky's got the crafty veterans always have a way of doing things.
Oh yes.
They always have a way of doing things.
Undoubtedly. You know what? One of my best one of my best fights, I think, was Diego Sanchez versus Cub Swanson. That absolute war that they had, But yeah, anyways, moving on to the light heavyweight division, the main event of the evening, which is going to happen on the 2nd of May at 7:30 a.m. only on Sony 10. It's going to be the former light heavyweight contender, Dominic Reyes versus Prochazka.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I'm going with the rising champion. I love Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes is a tough as nails, gritty fighter. He faced off against the champion, lost to Jan Blachowicz, sadly. But, he's going to come back. He's going to come back and be ready. And I think, I think Prochazka is a tough fighter as well. But this fight is a 5-round fight. So you never know, what happens. And Dominic has gone 5 rounds in the past. Prochazka has not.
Well, so are you saying it's the experience of Reyes of going 5 rounds versus the dynamic Prochazka?
Prochazka. I'm going to go with the rising champ, Prochazka.
Interesting. I think I'm going to be opposing that. I'm going to be going with Dominic Reyes for this one. Even though Prochazka has a lot more experience under his belt, he's 27-3. Dominic Reyes 12-2. But I think the familiarity of the octagon is going to see Reyes have his hand raised. So,
Arre, what a way to cap it off. Raise, get his hands raised.
Yeah.
But for the sake of Team Kamra, I just hope they win sometimes because it's becoming a washout. I already see it
that's
becoming
the end of the
5-0.
episode. We're not interested in this.
You're not interested in the trash talk. But I think Mr. Kamra is right. Our picks are ready, guys. You've heard them. Now, please go on to social media. Go tag us on all our handles. Tag us at IVM Podcast. Go to ivmpodcast.com. Check out the Fighting Goat and tag me and Somesh Kamra. Me, Arjun Chipalkatti. My handles are on Instagram at Arjun_Chipalkatti. On Twitter, it's at Mystic Chipal. Go, Somesh.
Well, you can tag me on Instagram, somesh.kamra, and on Twitter, it's somesh_kamra. Guys, what are you waiting for? Go
Seriously,
out there,
what are you...
tag us, have fun, and get a chance to win some exciting gifts.
Exciting gifts, and you have a chance to chat with us. You can, sometimes we get the fights wrong as well, or we may have missed a couple of things, or you don't agree with us. So feel free to come and talk to us. That's what we're here for. So guys, don't miss out on this and much more only on ivmpodcast.com. Check out the Fighting Goat and check out a lot more amazing content only on www.ivmpodcast.com. This is Team Chips and Team Kamra, Arjun aka Mystic Chips and Somesh the Superhuman Kamra signing off. Ciao, sayonara and dhanyavad.
Whether you're an established sports person or a budding one, or simply a sports enthusiast, join us, Tanvi and Shlok.
We are two passionate pro badminton players talking policy, mindset, and everything sport.
So tune in to the Millennial Athlete every Monday.
Only on the IVM Podcast Network.
Trust us, it's gonna be lit.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shunetro,
and me, Farhad,
on our show, Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
and sometimes downright scandalous
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.